All right, issue number 2, volunteer retention. And this could be a touchy one, but the problem is that the culture of serving on a tech team can often be underwhelming, where people don't feel like they matter and they're underappreciated.
That's a big one. When I worked at my church several years ago, I worked with a lot of volunteers and was always curious about why volunteers sometimes move into leadership volunteer positions. They just move from doing things to actually leading other volunteers. And then how do some volunteers make it to staff? I'm sure lots of churches out there hire volunteers onto their staff. And so I spent some time talking to volunteers and talking to them about why they volunteer, what they volunteer for, and the volunteers who would quit after 6 weeks compared to the volunteers who would volunteer 6 straight years. You know, what was that like? And I've sort of discovered that when people come and volunteer to church, they're trying to find where their interests match your interests, whether it's in kids ministry or tech or production, being a worship leader, all the volunteer spots in a church. And so they want to give of their talents. They want to give the things that makes them feel good about themselves. But the problem is with that, one flaw is you get your talents in there and you're using your talents for the church, but then you can be entitled about those talents. So you are the, camera operator for the 9:30 service on a Sunday morning, and they want you to be the camera operator on the 11 o'clock service on the Sunday morning. Like, no, I like my 9:30. That's better for me. And so sometimes what you do is ask volunteers to change their role without casting any vision to them. And so those volunteers then feel like they're entitled. And so you have to work through that entitlement of those volunteers. But what happens is they're volunteering because of their talents, like I said just a minute ago. But what you have to do is change from connecting your talents of volunteers, connecting volunteers' hearts. So you only can get to belonging, feel like you belong, when your hearts are connected to one another. So I've always learned, and what I would start working with volunteers is helping them with the missional component is of why this volunteer position matters. The parking lot volunteer. Hey, you're not just trying to help people park efficiently. You are the first person somebody sees on a Sunday morning. How you treat them makes an impact on the rest of the church, for what you're doing. And so always casting that vision and knowing how their hearts can be connected to volunteer position, not just their talent.
Blake, do you feel like you belong?
Oh, yeah, I definitely feel like I belong here. That's why Toby makes all the comments that he does. Makes me feel very, very included. I appreciate it.
Well, and Blake just skipped over the talent part.
Oh, wow.
He just got into the hard part.
Because I had so much of it.
Oh, there it is.
But I think that's the solution is figure out what is the heart behind this volunteer position, and how do you put it like a description around what the heart is of this position, not just what the talent level is or what the to-dos are of the description for a volunteer position.
Yeah, you never want to say, on a serious note, the what instead of the why. You're not a camera operator at 11 o'clock. You are enabling Susan, who was sick this morning, to still see the gospel.
Yeah, that'll
exactly.
There.
You always do that, and people will always buy into that, and it's less likely they will quit volunteering.
Yeah, they're a part of something that's more than just showing up.
Exactly. And a lot of volunteers, my experience as a volunteer before, and even when I worked in my church, how I saw sometimes volunteers were treated, is they just get treated as a position. Hey, your position is right here in the lobby. No one's position is in the lobby, So you have to help people cultivate this idea of what it means to volunteer and give up of your free hours in a week to give to something.
Yeah, I like that what you're saying also brings unity to not just the team, but also to the whole point of being at church and being the church. There's a goal and a mission that everyone's working towards, whether you're worship, production, parking, you're all working towards the same thing. And so that idea that you're buying into the same thing and unifying in that is really important. And I think that creates a healthy team.
Yep, you're exactly right.
Of course I am.